The massive alien ship appeared over Earth without warning. It hung silently above New York City, its strange metal surface reflecting sunlight in patterns no human engineer could design. Smaller ships broke away from the mothership and descended toward the United Nations building. Commander Daniel Wright stood at the edge of the hastily assembled security perimeter, his hand resting on his sidearm. As head of Earth's new unified defense force, he had pushed for caution. The world governments had voted against him. After decades of climate wars that had nearly destroyed human civilization, people were desperate for hope. An advanced alien civilization might offer solutions to Earth's many problems. "They're coming down now," said Lieutenant Heather Mills through his earpiece. 5 beings, humanoid, but definitely not human. Daniel watched as the alien craft landed gently on the wide plaza. A door appeared in its smooth side, and 5 tall figures emerged. They had pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Their bodies were thin but strong-looking, with long arms and 4-fingered hands. Their faces were almost human, with large eyes that changed color as they moved. Ambassador Susan Kelly stepped forward to meet them. She was the obvious choice to represent humanity, calm, intelligent, and skilled at reading people. Daniel hoped those skills would work on aliens too. "Welcome to Earth," Susan said, her voice steady despite the historic moment. "We are honored by your presence." The tallest alien bowed slightly. "I am Zenthal, representative of the Galactic Council. We have watched your world for many years. Now that you have achieved unity after your climate struggles, we believe it is time to welcome humanity into the greater community of spacefaring civilizations." Cameras flashed and reporters shouted questions, but security kept them back. This first meeting would be controlled, recorded, and studied carefully. Over the next 3 days, the alien delegation met with Earth leaders. They called themselves the Vrul and claimed to represent a peaceful alliance of 97 space-traveling species. They showed videos of amazing worlds, advanced cities, and technologies beyond human understanding. Daniel attended every meeting, watching silently from the back of the room. Something felt wrong, but he couldn't explain what. The aliens were polite, their offers generous. They promised to share medical technology first, cures for cancer, treatments for genetic diseases, ways to extend human life by decades. All they asked in return was permission to establish an embassy and begin cultural exchange. "You don't trust them," Susan said to him after the 3rd day of talks. They stood alone in her office, looking out at the alien ship still hovering over the city. "They're too perfect," Daniel replied. "Too generous. Nobody gives something for nothing." Susan sighed. "Not everyone thinks like a military commander, Daniel. Maybe advanced civilizations really do value peace and cooperation. We've only just stopped fighting each other. Perhaps they're simply more evolved." "Perhaps," Daniel said, but he wasn't convinced. The world governments voted unanimously to accept the Vrul's offer. Within weeks, alien medical technology began arriving on Earth. The first treatments went to children's hospitals, curing diseases that had been death sentences just months before. The public loved the aliens. News channels showed crying parents thanking Vrul doctors for saving their children. Daniel created a special team to study everything the aliens brought to Earth. Most scientists were too excited by the new technology to look for problems, but Daniel found a young researcher named Peter Grant, who shared his caution. "Look at everything," Daniel told him. "Assume nothing. Question everything." For 6 weeks, Peter found nothing concerning. The alien medicine worked exactly as promised. But in the 7th week, he called Daniel in the middle of the night. "You need to see this now," Peter said, his voice shaking. Daniel drove to the secure lab beneath the old military base in Colorado. Peter was waiting for him, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "I almost missed it," Peter said, leading Daniel to his workstation. "The changes are so small, so gradual. Look at these brain scans." Daniel looked at the screen showing 2 brain images side by side. "This is from a patient before treatment," Peter explained, pointing to the left image. "And this is 3 weeks after. See these tiny structures forming along the neural pathways? They're nanomachines, incredibly small robots that are changing how the brain works. What do they do? Daniel asked quietly. They make people more agreeable, more trusting, less questioning. Peter brought up more images. The effect is subtle. Nobody would notice. The personality changes, they'd seem natural. But over time, with enough people affected, they could control us, Daniel finished. How many people have received these treatments? About 30,000 so far. Mostly children and important adults, politicians, military leaders, scientists. Peter looked sick. I checked my own blood, I'm clean, but my supervisor isn't. When I tried to discuss my concerns with her, she immediately defended the aliens and suggested I was overworked and imagining things. Daniel felt cold fear settle in his stomach. We need to tell the world. Peter shook his head. With what proof? The nanites dissolve when removed from the body. And who would believe us? The aliens have cured children of fatal diseases. They're heroes. Daniel thought for a long moment. We need more information. And we need to keep this quiet for now. If the Vrul realize we've discovered their plan, they might take more direct action. Over the next 2 weeks, Daniel gathered a small group of trusted individuals who had not received any alien medical treatments. Susan Kelly was among them, having delayed her own scheduled treatment due to a busy diplomatic schedule. When presented with the evidence, Susan's face turned hard with anger. They're trying to enslave us without firing a shot. Exactly, Daniel said. But now we have a choice. We can expose them now or we can play along, Susan finished. Let them think their plan is working while we prepare a response. The group met in a secure underground room, free from any possible alien surveillance. 20 people, military leaders, scientists, intelligence experts, now carried the secret knowledge of humanity's greatest threat. We need time, Dr. Olivia Martinez said. She was Earth's leading expert on quantum physics. If I can study their technology, perhaps I can find weaknesses we can exploit. I can get close to them, offered Major Alan Cooper, a specialist in intelligence gathering. Learn more about their true intentions and capabilities. Susan looked at Daniel. I'll need to be their primary contact. I'll have to convince them that I'm gradually falling under their influence. Daniel nodded. And I'll build our defense. Quietly. The vote was unanimous. Earth would pretend to fall under alien control while secretly preparing to strike back. They set an 18-month timeline, long enough to develop countermeasures but not so long that too many humans would be compromised. As the meeting ended, Daniel looked at each determined face in the room. The Vrul think they're dealing with a primitive, easily manipulated species. They're about to learn how dangerous it is to underestimate humanity. Susan smiled grimly. Let the performance begin. 6 months after the discovery of the Vrul's true plan, Earth's secret resistance was in full operation. On the surface, everything seemed normal. The aliens continued to provide medical treatments, and more people received them every day. But underground, humanity was preparing its response. Commander Daniel Wright entered the hidden facility beneath the Appalachian Mountains. After passing through 7 security checkpoints, he arrived at the main research area. Dr. Olivia Martinez looked up from her work as he approached. Commander, you're just in time, she said. Her eyes were tired but excited. We've had a breakthrough. Daniel looked at the complex equipment surrounding them. Show me. Olivia picked up what looked like a small metal cube with strange patterns on its surface. This is a replica of the power core from the Vrul shuttle we managed to examine. We figured out how it works. She placed it on a testing platform. The aliens use a form of energy we've never seen before. They call it void energy. It's incredibly powerful, but it has a weakness. She pressed a button and the cube began to glow with a purple light. Then she activated another device nearby. The cube's light flickered and died. What did you do? Daniel asked. I disrupted its field with a specific frequency of quantum vibrations. The Vrul don't protect against this because they don't believe it's possible. According to their science, this shouldn't work. Daniel's eyes widened. But it does. Yes. Human science took a different path than theirs. We discovered principles. They missed. Olivia smiled tiredly. We can disable their technology without firing a shot. Meanwhile, in the Vrul embassy in Geneva, Ambassador Susan Kelly smiled pleasantly at Zenthal. She had mastered the art of appearing slightly unfocused, as if her thoughts were becoming easier to control. She had studied people who had received the nanite treatments and could mimic their behavior perfectly. The United Nations is prepared to sign the resource sharing agreement, she said. We're very grateful for all the help the Council has provided. Zenthal's color-shifting eyes showed satisfaction. Excellent. The extraction of your rare minerals will benefit both our peoples. The Council is pleased with Earth's progress. We live to serve the greater good, Susan replied with just the right amount of empty enthusiasm. After the meeting, Susan went through a complex security procedure to ensure she wasn't followed, then met with Major Alan Cooper in a secure location. What did you find? She asked. Alan placed a small device on the table. I managed to copy some of their communications. Their plans are bigger than we thought. The nanites are just the first step. Once enough humans are affected, they plan to introduce a second treatment that will make us completely obedient. We'll be their workforce, mining the planet for resources they need. Have they done this before? Alan nodded grimly. To at least 7 other species. Some are now extinct because their planets were mined until nothing valuable remained. Susan felt cold anger spread through her body. How much time do we have? Based on their communications, they plan to begin the second phase in about 8 months. Then we need to move up our timeline, Susan said. Tell Daniel to prepare for Operation Thunderstrike. Back in the underground facility, Daniel met with his military team. The room was filled with the most trusted officers from around the world, none of whom had received alien treatments. We're accelerating our plans, he announced. The Vrul will begin their final phase sooner than we expected. Dr. Martinez has developed the technology we need, but we still face a huge challenge. We need to deploy our countermeasures across the entire solar system simultaneously. General Linda Powell, head of the Space Force, stood up. My team has modified our stealth satellites. We've launched 300 of them over the past 4 months. The Vrul haven't detected them. Are they in position? Most of them. We need another 6 weeks to complete the network. Daniel nodded. That's our new deadline. 6 weeks from today we strike. As the meeting continued, Dr. Martinez explained how the satellites would work. Each one carries a quantum disruptor that will target Vrul technology. Their ships will lose power, their weapons will fail, but nothing will be permanently damaged. This isn't about destruction. It's about showing them we aren't as helpless as they think. In the weeks that followed, humanity's secret preparations accelerated. The satellites moved silently into their final positions. On Earth, more people received the nanite treatments daily, but the Resistance had developed a partial blocking agent that they secretly gave to key individuals. Susan continued her performance, becoming the perfect example of a human falling under alien influence. She was appointed as Earth's official representative to the Galactic Council and prepared to travel to their main station. The day before her departure, she met with Daniel one last time. Once you're on that station, we won't be able to communicate securely, he said. Are you sure about this? Susan nodded. I need to be there when it happens. I want to see their faces when they realize they've failed. If anything goes wrong, it won't, Susan said firmly. The plan is solid. The satellites are ready. You'll activate them when I give the signal during my address to the Council. Daniel handed her a small device disguised as a piece of jewelry. This will protect you from any countermeasures they might have. Susan took it and then surprised him by giving him a quick hug. Take care of Earth while I'm gone. The next day, Susan boarded the Vrul ship that would take her to Proxima Station, where the Galactic Council met. The journey would take 2 weeks. During that time, the final satellites moved into position around Earth and throughout the solar system. Major Alan Cooper continued gathering intelligence. He discovered that the Vrul had already begun setting up large mining operations in remote areas of Earth. They were bringing in equipment disguised as medical facilities. On Earth, Grant worked with a small team of scientists to mass-produce the nanite blocking agent. They couldn't hope to protect everyone, but they focused on children and essential workers. Dr. Martinez made the final adjustments to the quantum disruptors. Each one needed to be precisely tuned to affect only Vril technology. As the day of Susan's address to the council approached, Daniel went to the main control center hidden deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. From here, he would give the order that would either free humanity or doom it. "All satellites report ready," General Powell told him. Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. Now we wait for Ambassador Kelly's signal. Across the solar system, humanity held its breath, waiting for the moment to strike back against those who had tried to enslave them through deception. The Vril still believed their plan was working perfectly. They had no idea what was coming. Washington, November 8, 2024. The Federal Reserve raised the benchmark interest rate by 0.25%, marking its fourth increase this year to combat high inflation. The Fed chair stated this measure aims to control rising prices and support economic stability. Proxima Station hung in space like a massive wheel, slowly turning to create artificial gravity. It was the pride of the Galactic Council, a place where representatives from 97 spacefaring species met to govern their shared territories. Today, the council chamber was full. The topic of discussion was Earth and its surprisingly rapid integration into galactic society. Ambassador Susan Kelly waited in a small room outside the main chamber. She wore formal Earth clothes, a simple blue suit that contrasted with the elaborate outfits of the alien delegates. Around her neck hung the special device Daniel had given her, disguised as a silver pendant. A tall Vril aide approached her. "The council will see you now, Ambassador." Susan nodded and followed the aide into the grand chamber. The room was circular with rising tiers of seats, all facing a central speaking platform. Representatives of dozens of alien species watched her walk to the center. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange she could barely understand their body shapes. At the highest tier sat 7 beings, the High Council that made final decisions. Zenthal was among them, his skin glowing with pride as he introduced her. "Honored representatives, today we welcome Earth's ambassador. Her presence here shows the success of our integration program. Earth has moved from a primitive, war-torn world to a valuable new member of our community in less than 1 Earth year." Susan kept her face calm and slightly blank, like someone under the influence of the nanites. Inside, she felt nothing but cold determination. She thought of the billions of people back on Earth who had no idea they were being enslaved. She thought of the children who had been the first to receive the alien treatments. "Ambassador Kelly will now address the council regarding Earth's progress," Zenthal said. Susan stepped onto the platform. The universal translator would convert her words for all present. She looked around the chamber, making eye contact with as many representatives as possible. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice soft and respectful. "I bring greetings from Earth. We are grateful for your guidance and medical assistance." She paused, seeing satisfied nods from many council members. They believed the lie. They thought humans were already under their control. "For 18 months, she continued, her voice suddenly stronger. "You have believed us to be under your control." Confused murmurs spread through the chamber. This wasn't the speech they expected. "You attempted to enslave humanity through deception, rather than conquest," Susan said, her voice now clear and powerful. "You believed us too primitive to notice and too weak to respond." Zenthal stood up, his skin changing to an angry red. "What is the meaning of this?" Susan smiled coldly. "Today, humanity delivers its response." She pressed the hidden button on her pendant. Across the solar system, the signal raced to Earth. In the control center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Daniel Wright received the signal. "She's done it," he said to General Powell. "Activate all satellites. Begin Operation Thunderstrike." General Powell gave the command. At once, 300 stealth satellites activated around Earth and throughout the solar system. Each one emitted a precise quantum frequency that Dr. Martinez had discovered, the frequency that disrupted Vril technology. On Proxima Station, Susan watched as the chamber's lights flickered. The artificial gravity wavered. Around her, council members looked at each other in confusion. "What's happening?" demanded a reptilian delegate. On the main screen of the chamber, images began to appear. Earth's stealth satellites targeting every Vril ship and base in the solar system. The quantum disruptors hitting their targets with perfect accuracy. Within 9 minutes, every council military installation around Earth went dark. Ships lost power. Weapons systems failed. Communication networks shut down. There were no explosions, no destruction, just complete and total technological paralysis. Susan looked directly at Zenthal, whose skin had turned a pale, sickly color. "This was merely a demonstration," she said clearly. "We could have destroyed every ship and killed every Vrul in our system. Instead, we chose to show mercy, something you did not offer us." The chamber erupted in chaos. Some delegates fled the room. Others shouted accusations. The 7 High Council members sat in stunned silence. Susan raised her voice above the noise. "We now present our terms." Gradually, the chamber quieted. Even in their shock, the council representatives recognized the gravity of the situation. "First," Susan said firmly, "all council forces will withdraw from Earth space immediately. Second, you will provide the technology to remove the nanites you placed in our people. Third, the council will pay reparations for your attempted subjugation of our species." She paused, looking at each High Council member in turn. "Fourth, and most importantly, the Galactic Council will be restructured to include human representation with full voting rights. No more will you decide the fate of lesser species without their input." A large, insect-like being stood up. "This is outrageous. You cannot dictate terms to the Council. We have ruled space for 10,000 years. Susan remained calm. "Look at your screens. Right now, we control your military. We have shared our technology with the other species you have subjugated. The choice is simple. Adapt or face revolution across the galaxy." Back on Earth, Daniel watched as the Vril ships around the planet drifted powerless in orbit. Earth ships moved in to secure them. There was no resistance. The crew of each alien vessel was safely contained but completely cut off from their technology. Dr. Martinez entered the control center, her face showing both exhaustion and triumph. "It worked perfectly," she said. "Every target neutralized. No casualties on either side." Daniel nodded. "And the nanite removal?" "Ready for mass production. We can begin treatments next week." Major Alan Cooper joined them, carrying new reports. "The Virul mining operations are secured. We've freed 200 workers who were being used as test subjects for their second phase treatments." He looked grim. "Some of them are in bad shape, but they'll recover." "And the other council species?" Daniel asked. "Most are in shock. A few have already reached out secretly to express support for our actions. They've been waiting for someone to stand up to the Vrul for centuries." On the main screen, they could see Susan continuing her address to the council. She stood tall and confident, no longer pretending to be controlled. She was showing the galaxy the true face of humanity, not as conquerors but as liberators who refused to be enslaved. "How long until they recover from our attack?" General Powell asked. Dr. Martinez shrugged. "Days, maybe weeks. We didn't damage their technology permanently. We just showed them we could shut it down whenever we want." Daniel watched Susan on the screen with pride. "That was always the plan. This isn't about destruction. It's about changing the balance of power." He turned to his team. "Prepare for Phase 2. Once the Council agrees to our terms, we'll have a lot of work to do." On Proxima Station, Susan concluded her address. "Humanity did not seek revenge through destruction. We seek justice through transformation. You have 24 hours to begin discussions on our terms." She stepped down from the platform and walked through the silent chamber, past the shocked delegates of the mighty Galactic Council. No one tried to stop her. No one spoke. The species that had ruled space for thousands of years had just learned a powerful lesson. Never underestimate those you plan to conquer. The next 3 days after Susan's speech to the council were filled with chaos across known space. News of Earth's demonstration spread quickly to every corner of the galaxy. Species that had lived under Vrul rule for generations watched in amazement as the newcomers from Earth changed everything. On Proxima Station, Susan waited in her quarters. She had refused to leave until the council gave their answer to Earth's demands. Outside her door stood 4 human guards, brought secretly to the station over the past months. They were immune to the nanites and fully armed with both conventional weapons and Dr. Martinez's quantum technology. Finally, on the 3rd day, a message arrived. The council would meet with her again. Susan entered the chamber with her head held high. The room was much emptier now. Many delegates had fled to their home worlds to deal with the growing crisis. Those who remained looked nervous and uncertain. Shenthal spoke from his seat on the High Council. His voice lacked its usual confidence. Ambassador Kelly, the council has reviewed Earth's demands. He paused, clearly struggling with the word. We are prepared to discuss terms. Susan nodded. Good. But I am no longer the only voice Earth will send. Our security director will join us to handle the details. Right on cue, the chamber doors opened. A tall, confident man walked in. His uniform was crisp and simple, bearing only the Earth insignia on his shoulder. This is Director Greg Foster, Susan announced. He speaks with the full authority of Earth's United Governments. Greg Foster had been carefully chosen for this role. He had never received any alien medical treatments and had a photographic memory. He carried no electronic devices that could be hacked or manipulated. Let's begin, Greg said as he took his place beside Susan. First, we require immediate withdrawal of all Council forces from the Sol system. Our ships will escort yours to the system boundary. A large, tentacled delegate raised an appendage. How do we know you won't simply destroy our ships once they're powerless? Greg's face remained neutral. If we wanted to destroy you, we would have done so already. Unlike the Council, Earth does not believe in unnecessary violence. Back on Earth, Commander Daniel Wright oversaw the Vrul evacuation. One by one, the alien ships were powered up just enough to leave orbit, then escorted by Earth vessels. At the edge of the solar system, they were allowed to restore full power and depart. In his command center, Daniel received regular updates from Susan and Greg on Proxima Station. The negotiations were proceeding, but not without resistance. Some Council species are calling for military action against Earth, Susan reported via secure channel. But most are afraid. What we did shouldn't have been possible according to their understanding of science. They're right to be afraid, Daniel replied. But make sure they understand we don't want a war. We just want our freedom and a fair place in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Dr. Olivia Martinez worked tirelessly with her team. The nanite removal treatment was being distributed worldwide. People who had received the Vrul medicine were slowly freed from its effects. Many were angry when they learned the truth. Others were simply grateful to have their minds back. Major Alan Cooper had a different task. Using data from the captured Vrul bases, he discovered evidence of similar programs on other worlds. The Vrul had been using the same tactics across the galaxy for thousands of years. We need to share this information, he told Daniel. There are at least 12 other species currently being subjugated the same way we were. Daniel agreed. Send everything to Susan. She'll know how to use it. On the 5th day of negotiations, Greg Foster played his strongest card. In the middle of a heated debate about reparations, he activated a small device that projected images into the center of the council chamber. What you're seeing, he explained calmly, is evidence of systematic subjugation across multiple worlds. The same nanite technology used on Earth, deployed against species you classified as developing. Some of these programs have been running for centuries. The images showed planets where native populations worked in mines and factories while Vrul overseers watched. It showed medical facilities identical to those set up on Earth. Most damning of all, it showed council meetings from years past where these programs were discussed and approved. The chamber fell silent. Many delegates looked away from the images. Some seemed truly shocked, as if they hadn't known what was being done in their name. We have shared this information with all affected worlds, Greg continued. They are waiting to see what happens here. One of the High Council members, a being that looked like a tall, pale humanoid with 4 arms, stood up. I must speak, she said, her voice soft but clear. I am Ilara of the Talarian cluster. My people joined the council 500 years ago, after what we thought was a generous offer of medical technology. She looked around the chamber. We never knew the truth until today. The Vrul did to us what they attempted to do to Earth. She stepped down from the High Council platform. I stand with Earth's demands. The council must change or it must end. One by one, other delegates stood. Species that had been silent for generations found their voices. The balance of power was shifting before Susan and Greg's eyes. Back on Earth, humanity began to look outward with new eyes. The threat had brought the world together in a way nothing else could. Nations that had fought each other for centuries now worked side by side. Peter Grant, the scientist who had first discovered the nanites, led a new research institute dedicated to understanding alien technology. Working with scientists from around the world, he developed new defenses against any future attempts to control humanity. In orbit, Earth's fleet grew stronger every day. Ships that had been designed as simple transports were quickly modified with the new quantum technology. Soon, Earth had the ability to defend itself against any aggressor. But Daniel knew that real security wouldn't come from weapons. We need allies, he told his staff, other species who have suffered under council rule. Together, we can create something better. As the first week of negotiations ended, word came from Proxima Station. The Galactic Council had agreed to Earth's terms. All Vrul forces would leave human space. The nanite program would be dismantled across all worlds. Reparations would be paid. And most importantly, the Council would be restructured to include representatives from all spacefaring species, with equal voting rights. It was more than a victory. It was a revolution, and it had all been accomplished without firing a single, deadly shot. Earth's revenge wasn't destruction, it was justice. 6 months after Earth's demonstration of power, Commander Daniel Wright stood beside Ambassador Susan Kelly in the newly constructed human embassy on the Vrul homeworld. Through the large window, they could see the spires and towers of the alien capital city. It was the first time humans had been invited to visit the Vrul planet as equals rather than subjects. I never thought we'd be standing here, Susan said quietly. Not as visitors, but as recognized powers. Daniel nodded. They didn't give us much choice. A year ago, humans had been seen as primitive newcomers to galactic society. Now Earth led a coalition of formerly subjugated worlds. The Galactic Council had been completely restructured. The 7-member High Council was gone, replaced by a rotating committee with representatives from all member species. It's time for the ceremony, said Greg Foster, entering the room. In the month since the negotiations, he had become Earth's permanent representative to the Council. They're waiting for us. Together, the 3 humans walked through the grand hallways of the Vrul government building. Alien officials bowed respectfully as they passed. There was no more talk of humans being primitive or needing guidance. Earth had earned its place among the stars. They entered a vast circular chamber where representatives from dozens of species had gathered. In the center stood a simple stone table. On it rested the new Galactic Charter, the document that would govern relations between worlds from now on. Senthal approached them. The once proud Vrul leader now served as just one representative among many. Ambassador Kelly, he said with a formal bow. Commander Wright, Director Foster, the Council welcomes Earth's delegation to this historic occasion. Susan stepped forward. We are honored to participate. Earth remains committed to building a more just galaxy for all species. The signing ceremony began. One by one, representatives came forward to place their mark on the charter. Some used ink. Others pressed appendages into special clay. A few used light or sound to register their agreement. The methods were different, but the meaning was the same. All agreed to treat each other as equals. When it was Earth's turn, Susan, Daniel, and Greg all signed their names. It was symbolic, showing that Earth's military, diplomatic, and security branches all supported the new agreement. Back on Earth, the event was broadcast live to billions of people. In homes, schools, and public squares, humans watched as their planet took its place in the wider universe. Children who had once been victims of the Vrul's nanite program now learned about alien cultures in school, preparing for a future where humans would travel freely among the stars. Dr. Olivia Martinez watched the ceremony from her new laboratory at the International Space Research Center. Around her, a team of scientists from Earth worked alongside researchers from 7 other species. Together, they studied the quantum discoveries that had allowed humanity to defeat the Vrul. "It's still hard to believe," said her assistant, a young scientist named Karen Young. "We were studying their technology to find weaknesses, and we ended up making discoveries they missed for thousands of years." Olivia smiled. "That's the beauty of different perspectives. The Vrul thought they knew everything about the universe. They stopped looking for new ideas. We never stopped questioning." Across the solar system, the changes were visible everywhere. Earthships now patrolled alongside vessels from allied worlds. Trade routes extended to distant stars. The first human colonists prepared to settle on planets beyond Sol. Major Alan Cooper, now head of Earth's Interstellar Intelligence Agency, reviewed reports from across known space. The news was mostly good. The former subject species were rebuilding their societies. The Vrul were adapting to their new position, no longer rulers but equals. Still, there were problems. Some council members resisted the changes. A few Vrul extremists had attacked Earth ships. And beyond known space, there were rumors of other powers who watched the council's fall with great interest. "We need to remain vigilant," Alan told his staff. "We've made powerful changes, but change always brings resistance." After the signing ceremony on the Vrul homeworld, Daniel found a quiet moment alone with Susan. They stood on a balcony overlooking the alien city as 2 of the planet's 3 moons rose in the purple sky. "We did it," Susan said. "We changed the galaxy without destroying it." Daniel nodded. "That was always the goal. Not revenge through violence, but justice through transformation." He looked out at the alien world that had once sought to enslave humanity. They never understood us. They thought they could control humans like they controlled other species. They didn't realize that our greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our ability to unite against a common threat, Susan finished, to put aside our differences when we need to. On the final day of their visit, the Earth delegation prepared to return home. Before they left, they met with representatives from the 12 worlds that had formed an alliance with Earth, the Liberation Coalition, as it was now called. Ilara of the Tellarian Cluster, who had been the first to stand with Earth in the council chamber, spoke for the group. "For generations, my people lived under Vrul influence without even knowing it. The nanites suppressed our natural tendency to question authority. You freed not just yourselves, but all of us." Daniel looked around the room at the diverse beings gathered there. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien in form. Yet all had shared the same fate, and now shared the same freedom. "This is just the beginning," he said. "There's an entire galaxy out there. Together we can build something better than the old council ever imagined." As their ship lifted off from the Vrul homeworld, Daniel looked down at the planet below. A year ago, it had been the center of power that sought to enslave humanity. Now it was just one world among many in a more balanced galaxy. Peter Grant contacted them as they left orbit. "Commander, Ambassador, you should know, the nanite removal program is complete. The last affected humans have been treated. We're finally free of Vrul influence." Susan smiled at the news. "Tell everyone back home we're on our way, and tell them the new charter is signed. The galaxy will never be the same." As their ship accelerated toward the jump point that would take them home, Daniel thought about everything that had happened. Earth had faced enslavement and responded not with destruction, but with something far more powerful, a complete rewriting of the rules. The brutal revenge that had shocked the Galactic Council wasn't violence, it was justice, and that, he realized, was the most human response of all.